everybody, if you didn't know, today is National Rare Disease Day. I have one rare disease called Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. It's a genetic connective tissue disorder and it impacts almost every aspect of my life. I'm going to be answering all the questions that you sent in from Instagram and Facebook, and I just want you to remember that what's true for me might not be true for another person with Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. So I'm just going to get started on the questions that you all sent in. The first question is, I saw a video about a woman with EDS and super stretchy skin. Is that a thing with you, or did she have a different type or something? I only have a little bit of stretchy skin. It's not really that noticeable unless you were to pull on it, and you can't really tell just by looking at me. The video you saw, I believe she has classical Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, and for her, she has a lot of extra skin involvement. Pretty much everybody with Ehlers Danlos Syndrome has different symptoms and more severe symptoms and less severe symptoms. The next question is, what are your most frustrating symptoms? My most frustrating symptoms are actually from complications due to Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. I struggle a lot with dizziness and lightheadedness and fatigue, which comes from the autonomic nervous system malfunctioning from EDS. And I also have a lot of nausea, which is because my digestive tract is a lot slower due to the Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. Any symptoms you find interesting or amusing? I think the most interesting or amusing symptom is definitely the hypermobile stretchiness. I could do a lot of different party tricks and just weird bendy things with my body, but I don't like to do them because it actually hurts me. What are the basics of living with Ehlers Danlos Syndrome that everyone should be aware of? I think one of the big ones is that it's not just hypermobile joints. It actually causes us a lot of pain and injuries. And aside from the joint involvement, it actually affects your entire body. So we have a lot of extra complications that don't get talked about as much. The next question is, how do you treat joint pain? For me, I usually use over-the-counter painkillers like ibuprofen or Advil. If it's really bad, I try and stay away from those as much as I can. And the only other thing I really do is try and prevent the joint pain from happening. I typically get injured or have pain from repetitive motions, like walking or vacuuming back and forth. So I try and mix things up or just take breaks as I'm doing the tasks. Next question is, I think I may have it. What kind of doctor should I see? I saw a rheumatologist first, and she did a lot of blood tests to rule out other autoimmune disorders and lots of other things. And she actually diagnosed me with hypermobile Ehlers Danlos Syndrome based on the criteria, and I'll link those in the box below as well. I would suggest starting with a rheumatologist just because geneticists can take years to get into. Next question is, how can you look so healthy and still be disabled? So the genetic defect for Ehlers Danlos Syndrome is a defect in collagen, which is the most abundant protein in your body. Since it's a protein, nobody can see that. It's one of the building blocks of your skin, of your joints, of your organs. What does an average good day look like versus an average bad day? If it's bad enough that I don't leave the house, I'm just pretty much walking from my bed to the couch and the bathroom. I typically don't have bedbound days like some people, just because I've been able to manage okay. And an average good day, I can leave the house, I can walk around the store, I can take Quimby out for a walk, pretty much do whatever I would like to, aside from super strenuous exercise or things like that. Why are the symptoms so inconsistent? One day good, the next day bad. I'm not actually sure why this is, but I think it's just a normal kind of human thing. Even normal people, if they do a lot one day, are extra tired the next. So with chronic illness, I think it's just amplified a little bit. So if I do too much on one of my good days, then the next day I don't feel as well and I can't do as much. What are the most severe effects of your EDS? The most severe effects are my GI system and my autonomic nervous system. So I get a lot of nausea and fullness, bloating, gross things like that, and dizziness, lightheadedness, and fatigue from the autonomic system. What's your best survival tip? Learn to pace yourself. I am terrible at it, but I'm trying to be better. But pacing is such an important part of staying on top of conditions like this and helping yourself by resting when you need to instead of just trying to push through, and kind of accepting that you have what you have instead of pretending like you're a normal person. What has been the most helpful for you dealing with this condition? Probably Instagram and Facebook, all the support groups, and meeting people who have the exact same thing as I do is pretty cool. Why are people with EDS called spoonies? I'll link this in the description box below, but the spoon theory is basically an analogy for energy. The creator was trying to explain to her friends what it's like to live with lupus, so she took about 12 spoons in her hand and she told her friends that every activity you do in a day costs a spoon, or 2 spoons for the harder activities. So you have to decide, are you going to brush your teeth today, or are you going to shower today? Or are you going to eat 3 meals today? Or are you going to go grocery shopping? But you only have a set number of spoons. If you go over that amount of spoons, the next day you have less spoons to do fewer activities. It was just a way of explaining to her friends how sometimes she can do things and other days she can't. Tips on seeking a diagnosis with less severe symptoms. I was actually diagnosed with pretty few symptoms. All I had gone to the rheumatologist for was joint pain and frequent injuries, and I was able to be diagnosed because the criteria for hypermobile Ehlers Danlos Syndrome is pretty extensive. You either meet the criteria or you don't. And with the genetics, you either have the gene defect or you don't. So even if you have less severe symptoms, there's still a high chance of being diagnosed if you indeed do have Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. How do you get over being afraid to share your story? I'm still not over that. I'm really nervous to post this video. I think that's more of a self-conscious thing, that I'm nervous to talk in front of people. But I think just accepting that it's a part of your life and it's most likely not going to go away. Might get better and better managed, but it's probably going to be there for the rest of your life. So it's more important to tell everybody about it so that they're aware, instead of hiding it and hoping that they understand even if they don't know what's going on. Does having a diagnosis help? Yes and no, since there isn't that much they can do to fix any of the problems. It's not helpful in that sense. It's helpful for preventative measures and also just to know that you're not crazy. That there's actually something going on in your body that you don't have control over. So that was the last question. Thank you very much for sending in all of your questions. If you have any other questions, you can be sure and leave them in the comments below. Maybe I'll make another video, or I can just respond on your comment. If you liked this video and you learned a lot, be sure to share it with your friends to raise more awareness of these rare conditions. If you want to be notified of all of my upcoming videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I will see you soon. Bye!